Hi, Vibers. Welcome to, I almost said welcome to Not So Average with Sean Wilson, but that's not right. That's the other thing I do. Welcome to shon.vibes. If you're brand new here, you're like, what is this crazy lady talking about? Well, let me start with this. My name is Sean, and I am happy to have you here for today's tarot video because today is a very special collaboration with Gian over at Scarlet Serpent Tarot. So if you've come here from his video, you are in for a treat because I am indeed a crazy lady. If you are a returner, you already know all that. So, whatevs. So let's talk about today's topic, you guys. As I mentioned, it is a collab video that we're doing today. And on my side here, we are going to be looking at shadow aspects of yourself. For some of you, there may be one aspect of your personality or your soul that has been shadowed, has been pushed down, and that you don't live in consciously. And for some of you, there may be a couple of shadow aspects that are a part of your personhood at this time. So we're going to use the tarot reading on this side to reveal that to you. You may want to take a look at more than one pile today because, yes, we are doing a pick a card. You may want to take a look at more than one pile because you may have more than one shadow aspect. But, don't let my saying that make you do that. Listen to your intuition. See if you feel called to one or if you feel called to more than one, okay? On Gian's side of our collaboration, he's going to be looking into who your shadow deity is. So that's going to be who's the shadow god or goddess that may be already an influence in your life, even if you're not aware of it. I assume that's what he means by that. At least that's the way I took it when we discussed this topic. Because shadow tends to be about something we're not aware of. Now, here on my side, we're not just going to reveal what your shadow aspects are, but I am going to talk with you about embracing that side of yourself. So often when we talk about shadow, there's a lot of focus on, and understandably so, a lot of focus on healing the shadow. And for some people, that turns into an idea around needing to eradicate the shadow. Denying the shadow is what's already made it a shadow. So for those of you who don't know that term at all, there are a couple of ways to look at it. For some people, they take the approach that comes from psychology as introduced to us by Carl Jung. And it's the idea of an aspect of your personality that you're not conscious of, but it is prevalent in how you live your life. This shadow aspect of your personality may have been developed through experiences you had as a young child during this lifetime. And in some cases, not even as a young child, but definitely experiences that you've had during your life here and now. For others, the idea of shadow is around the soul's growth, the soul's journey, right? The soul's purpose. And some of what creates that shadow is past life experiences, things that we encountered that had a harmful or detrimental or otherwise adverse effect on us that now are operational in our soul imprint, in our again, personhood, even though, again, we're not necessarily conscious of it. Now, if you followed my content, whether it's this series of, well, not series, but this tarot channel, I should say, whether you have been following the tarot channel for a while or you're more familiar with me from the podcast, Not So Average with Sean Wilson, which I mentioned earlier, you know that I am a big proponent of accepting the entire self. So my personal approach to shadow does not necessarily mean that you have to get rid of it. It does not necessarily, in my opinion, I don't think you have to heal it. I think there are massive benefits to healing any shadow aspects of who you are, particularly if you find that they're standing in your way from being who you would like to be. I am not in any way, shape, or form advocating that anybody not do the work. I do the work. I almost said I'm a big fan of the work. I don't know if I'm a fan of it, but I knew it was a necessary thing and continues to be a necessary thing in my life. So I do the work. But a big part of doing the work for me, and what I like to advocate to others, is self-acceptance. And that's about accepting where you are now, accepting who you are now. And I feel that that also applies to shadow. And so because of that, that is the approach that I'm going to be taking with your readings today. I'm going to talk with you about how to embrace this shadow aspect of yourself that gets revealed to us. Okay? And by embrace, I mean not just accepting that it's there, but seeing in what way or ways you can maximize it, how you can use it to your benefit because of now having a conscious awareness of it, until the day comes, should the day ever come, that you decide to heal it or mature from it, or mature out of it, I guess I should say. So I hope all of that was clear to you. But in case it wasn't, I want to give you a quick example of my own shadow, okay? So in my life, I had a lot of trauma as a child. A lot of trauma from various sources, all stemming from my family of origin. And one of the greatest traumas of my life stemmed from my biological father, who happened to be a man who, when he was living, and particularly during my childhood, had a lot of anger in him. And my mother was the opposite. She was a more gentle-natured person. And so because of some of the things she experienced prior to my father, as well as with my father, she had a lot of fear energy in and around her. And so there was this message that I got in one very particular memory, which I won't get into here, that involved the two of them, where I learned how bad anger actually is. At least that's how I processed it as a child. And so because of what I saw in this instance, I became a person who was not able to or willing to have anger, even though I felt anger often. And so the message that I got was that anger is scary to other people. And I hated what it looked like. I still to this day hate what it looks like when I see someone else is afraid. And so with that, I would constantly up until like even not just in my childhood, in my teen years, but also in my adulthood, try so hard not to have or show anger. And then of course, because it was there would be times where the anger would just like blow up and blow out. Once I started learning the concept of shadow, I don't know why it went this way for me, but I decided, I want to own that anger. Because see, I knew that despite my very natural alpha tendencies, I still didn't feel effective enough in my life, and I still didn't feel like I was being taken seriously by people. And so what I ended up doing was deciding to lean into my anger whenever it came up for me, to let it have its life and see what happens. And what I ended up discovering, you guys, was that there was benefit to this anger. Anger had become a shadow aspect of my personality, a shadow emotion. It was always there because of all the things that I had experienced. But I wasn't conscious of how much it was controlling some of the things that I was doing or saying or allowing to happen to me. But once I let myself acknowledge and be in touch with and give license to this anger to exist, then I started to use it to my benefit. And what I found is when I get angry, shit gets done. Now, I know that there are probably going to be some people that are like, "Ooh, Shon, are you trying to tell people to be out there just being angry?" No, I'm telling people to embrace whatever the emotion they are having in the moment is. Because here's something that you'll learn or may have already learned that does come from psychology, and it is this. Our anger shows us where our limits are. That means our anger allows us to set firm boundaries. In some instances, anger is absolutely necessary to handle situations with certain kinds of personality types. Because if you don't let that side of yourself show, then they're just going to run all over you, you know? So that I wanted to give you guys that example so you have a better understanding and more context for what I mean when I say, once we get to your readings, embracing the shadow. The guidances that I am going to be giving you today, the intention when we tap into our higher selves and our guides, the intention is to give you ways to embrace whatever your shadow aspect is versus feeling as though you need to be ashamed of it or make it go away, even through the very healthful practice of healing work. Okay, you guys, I know that was a super long intro. Thank you for your patience with me while I explain this, because this is, you know, I'm not a therapist and I'm not a psychologist. So I wanted to really give you guys context around this. And I'm also not like a spiritual teacher. I'm none of those things. I'm a girl that likes to enjoy life. And typically my tarot readings are about, you know, helping you tap into the joy, especially the joy that is available to you after healing. So like, you know, the ideal person to watch my content is someone who like goes to Alyssa over at Celtic Fairy Tarot and listens to her readings around inner child work and gets inspired to do, you know, the healing and growth that comes from that. And then as you start to feel better, as you start to feel more in yourself and the adult part of you is taking over more, you come to me and I tell you, okay, now here's how you have fun in life instead of being ruled by that which has been your past, as so many of us are. It was lengthy. And a part of that probably has to do with the fact that we did just do 3 weeks of my podcast here on this channel. And so my brain is like kind of conflating the two. It's like, am I doing Not So Average or am I doing a tarot video? Which Shon am I right now? And so, yes, it was a lot of words. I hope you found value in them. But with no further ado, let's pick your piles. So for our readings today, we have 3 piles for you guys to choose from. We have the Light Seers Tarot, we have the Wiser Tarot, and we have the Gilded Tarot Royale. For some reason, I just totally blanked on that for a second. Probably because it's been a minute since I have used this deck, not just in my videos, but even in my personal readings for people who order from me and my personal readings for myself, okay? So these are our 3 tarot piles for you guys to choose from. And I am going to flip a card at random to help you with your pile selection if you feel like you need it. If you feel like you already know which one you're most drawn to, go ahead down to the timestamps below and click on your reading. So in terms of our reveal for right now, with group 1, we have the Hanged Man, and while it's a little bit confusing to tell with this particular deck, but we have Hanged Man in reverse. It's actually in reverse, okay? And then for pile 2, we have the 10 of Pentacles, and clearly that's not in reverse, it is upright. And then for pile 3, we have the Fool, or as they say in French, le fou. Did you guys know that the character of LeFou in Beauty and the Beast, his name means the Fool, LeFou? Anyway, so take a second, take a look, see which of these piles is calling to you, which one you feel most drawn to, and I will see you in your reading. Hi, group 1, welcome to your reading. As I mentioned in the intro, today's reading is a collaboration with Scarlet Serpent Tarot. Here on this side, you and I are going to be looking at elements or aspects of your shadow self and how you can embrace that part of you. And Gian over at Scarlet Serpent Tarot, Scarlet Serpent Tarot, say that 3 times fast, is going to be looking at who your shadow deity might be. So that could be your shadow god or your shadow goddess. And, you know, I don't know. He might even be taking a look at, no, it's probably just god or goddess. So forget I started to say more. It wasn't going to make any sense. Anyway, so you guys were drawn into your reading today by the Light Seers Tarot deck and the Hanged Man in reverse, or possibly the Light Seers Tarot deck despite the Hanged Man in reverse. Whatever it is that brought you to group 1, this is your reading. So what I am going to do is I'm going to put the deck back the way it originally was and side shuffle again. All of the decks have been pre-shuffled before I started the video, but I always side shuffle while I'm doing the readings because it does help me to ground my energy as I get some clarity and some answers for you. Now, we are going to start your reading today with pulling from this tarot deck. And then based on what comes up, we're going to pull from one of the 3 oracle decks I have here. I'm saying one, it could be that we pull from 2 or 3. These are the decks I was inspired to include in today's reading. And just like I do with my personal readings, I let what comes up during the reading determine whether or not we use oracle as well, and if so, which decks we use. I hope that was clear. So the decks that we have for that today are the Higher Self Oracle, which is one of my favorites, the Wild Muse Oracle by Vanessa Simoyana, which I don't use nearly enough, and then the Chakra Love cards, which are here, which I haven't used in a very, very long time. So let's start off by finding out what characteristics or aspects of you are, operating as shadow to your overall personality. And if you're not super clear on what shadow means, a brief description of it is it's those parts of ourselves that we don't allow to exist freely. And sometimes it's because we don't even recognize that they're there. It can be that we made a soul decision to not have them at play in this lifetime. If you happen to be someone who believes in past lives, it could be an aspect of your personality that caused you problems in the past. And so for this lifetime, you're like, no, thanks. I don't want that, but it's there. It's operating beneath the surface. And then for those of you who don't necessarily align with the idea of past lives, or maybe you do, but also like the psychological aspect of it. Another way of looking at shadow self is, or how it got developed is, our early life experiences in this lifetime, the one that you are conscious of living right now. When someone has shamed you for being a certain way or sent you the message in some way that you shouldn't be a certain kind of person or be a certain way, that then can develop into a shadow aspect of our personality. So I am going to take a second to, connect with my higher self and my guides, and I invite you to do the same as we pull your cards to get an idea of elements. Oh, look at that, of your shadow self. So we have Ace of Cups. And I am feeling called to stop right there and to speak on that. You guys, what I'm getting right off the bat for you in regards to this as your shadow self is some of you, most of you, don't feel loved enough. And lots of us feel this way. But what I'm getting for this group, for those of you who are drawn to this pile, is that one of the reasons why you don't feel loved enough is because you have a block against accepting love when it comes your way. It's as though there has been something that occurred in your life. And to keep things simple as we talk today, I'm just going to say your life, and you can determine for yourself if it's a life that is happening right now or a past life, your choice. But there's something that's happened in your life that taught you that love is weakness or love is vulnerability. And so you're not super comfortable being led by love, being led by your heart, your love for others, as well as possibly their love for you. I'm getting so much at one time around this. I'm getting that for many of you, and this is not going to be a surprise to anybody, it's from a past hurt, right? A very devastating hurt. You might be someone who had a romantic relationship that you thought was, the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with. And you guys may have even lived together, but then there was a major betrayal. by this person towards you. This could be, of course, infidelity, or it could be an inability to break addictive habits. Could be some sort of abuse, or definitely neglect is up there as well. And because you gave so fully, and that went so horribly wrong, you've shut yourself off from being able to, or being willing to, I should say, being willing to let yourself love like that again. And so because of that, there is a block to receiving love from someone else who might want to give it to you and be a better caliber of person. For some of you, I'm getting, there was messaging around love that you received from someone who's not you, someone else who was hurt, and hurt so spectacularly that there was a jadedness and a darkness that was always put around the idea of love, particularly romantic love. And this person conveyed the message to you because of the hurt that they suffered, or the trauma that they suffered, that to allow yourself to love is to be a weak person. And this love isn't just about romantic, but also just having compassion for others. You might be someone who has who was raised in an environment where it was kind of like dog eat dog, even in your home, right? Where there was like a survival element to it, possibly because of, again, an abusive system or a narcissistic family member who was in charge. And there was this, in the therapy space, there's this idea of the loveless family. And I know that's a hard thing for people to possibly resonate with or hear even. But it's the idea of being a member of a family that, while they may say to each other that they love each other, the actions convey a completely different story. And particularly whenever there is a need for compassion or empathy, when softer emotions are shown, when weaknesses or vulnerabilities are shown, there's no room for that. There's no space for that. That's the same thing. Hold on, that's not what I meant, because room and space are the same. There's no allowance for the processing of those. And so it's this environment where it's like breeding nothing but alphas, where everybody has to be like witty, or not even witty, but sarcastic, or disparaging or mean. Everyone has to come off strong, and then of course there's the person who can't pull that off because it's just not who they are, and they get scapegoated in that system. Again, I'm saying family, but it could be another system. It could be a workplace environment. But I feel very strongly that this is coming through around family. So there was messaging that was received by some of you guys in this group, either from, again, say a parent who was a divorced parent and never got over the hurt of that divorce, and was just constantly sending very negative messages around love, and how love leaves you vulnerable and creates weakness, and how you should never love, and you have to look out for yourself all the time, and fuck everybody else, that kind of idea. Or protect yourself, always with the protecting yourself, and so there's so much idea around protection that there's no space for love to come through, to come in. And then for some of you, the messaging from another around love would have more to do with just abrasiveness, an abrasive environment. And so the messaging could have been covert as opposed to someone saying outright, but I feel that there was some saying it outright, that there was some disparaging remarks were a big thing. Like, stop crying, you're being a baby, why do you care so much how other people feel? Or you might have heard things about like, oh gosh, here was one that just came up. what it's a offshoot of what I just said. Why do you care so much what other people think about you? Maybe it, and then something around who cares about those people on the other side of the world, or even who cares about this other group of people right here on our, in our country. Just an inability to have compassion or kindness, let alone romantic love, because of course this then is reflected in the romantic love life as well. So you guys, I'm feeling guidance for you in how to embrace this shadow self. So when I say embrace, and for the purposes of this reading, it's not about feeling that you need to fix yourself or you need to heal this thing. Whether or not you choose to heal anything ever is completely up to you. But when the topic of this reading came to me, it was more around realizing that there is this shadow aspect of you and seeing how you can use it as it is today to your own benefit. That's what I try to do in my life, because it's, I feel, important for us to accept all of ourselves completely as we are. And some aspects of ourselves are, they're darker. But that's not necessarily bad. The fact that this one is around love, I can see why, most people will be like, well, it is bad if you can't accept love. It is definitely sad if you can't accept love. But I want to caution you against being judgmental of yourself, because I feel that there is already so much judgment that has come your way. Judgment and shaming. And when we think in terms of, I need to fix this about myself, there is inherently judgment there. Okay. So it's the Higher Self Oracle where I feel that we're going to be getting your guidance. As I continued to speak, it felt less about the chakra cards and more about this Higher Self Oracle. Can we please give group one, scoot that out of the way. Can we please, and you guys, I don't know if you noticed, but I tend to change out the crystal every time I do a reading. I change out the main crystal that's here. Sometimes it'll be a cluster of crystals, and sometimes it is just a single one. And because of what we were talking about today, I chose to use the rose quartz, and it's a massive one. I bought this not too long ago. It's a massive rose quartz. Look at that. That's my palm. And I've got, long hands. And it's because of the idea of, embracing this part of yourself. Don't shame it, and don't be so quick to try to get rid of it. How is it serving you right now is what we're looking at. How can it possibly continue to serve you in the future? All right. Oh, okay. So we have trust. Great. Perfect. Look at that, you guys. So what's coming up, with trust card coming up as your guidance, and that part of your shadow for some of you is the unwillingness to ask for love. For some of you, so we've been focusing on the asking for, receiving, but for some of you it might also be about an unwillingness to, or inability to comfortably show love to others. But for the most part, I'm getting that it's the receiving of love that's tricky for those of you who chose this group today, and feeling as though you have the right to. So, one of the main guidances coming up for you guys, and I really hope if you hear nothing else I say today, it's this. Trust the fact that it's natural to want love from others, and it's normal for you to need that love. You're not defective because you want love. And so if you're not defective, unless you feel like you want to, you don't have to feel as though you need to hide that desire anymore. But also with this trust card and talking about embracing this part of the shadow, or this part of your personhood that has been in shadow, it's been self-protection this unwillingness and this incapability of asking for love. So trust that your tendency towards that self-protection and not wanting to show what can be perceived by some as vulnerability, the need for love, trust that that was necessary for a time, and that has taught you discernment. I'm getting that you're probably a better judge of character than most people. You can probably peep someone out so fast. Do people even still say peep someone out? That's very 90s. I think it's 90s. I'm pretty sure it was 90s. But yeah, you can probably see things about others that most people miss. And it's because of this tendency towards self-protection, self-preservation, caution in dealing with others. And, because of that, you've also probably gotten better over time at taking your time to understand people and situations before you offer them your most precious thing, yourself. Because the offering of love, or the looking to someone to give us love, that entails by nature vulnerability and sharing you, the precious, wonderful you that you are. I assume you're wonderful. I mean, I don't know. Some of you might be shitbags, but I feel like if you're drawn to these kinds of readings, and particularly if you're attracted to the energy that I intend for these readings, you probably are a pretty decent human being, And this shadow side of yourself, this inability to ask for love or to show vulnerability in the area of love, or even receive love that's been offered to you because of, at its core, fear of being hurt at some point, that has kept you from having truly fulfilling relationships with others. Again, regardless of the type of relationship, romantic or familial or friendships, because intimacy is bringing our full self to the relationship. But you can trust that, because we're getting back to our guidance here, trust, that while that is an unfortunate, probably reality for most of you, your needs not fully being met by others. And I don't mean that anybody is supposed to fulfill all your needs, but relationships do have a purpose for us. And if we can't express our needs comfortably, we can't get them met. So while that is true, it is also true that this shadow side of you has protected you from some people who were wholly unworthy of you and probably incapable of giving you good love that works. There may be some people who have come up in your life, who have been in your life, in your past, maybe even right now in the present, who, they're questionable. And for you, looking back on some of these instances, some of these people, you could have dodged a bullet because of not being able to say to them, hey, I'm into you. A lot of times when we have a hard time approaching someone or expressing a desire to someone, there's a reason. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, there's something that we're picking up on, even if we can't, if we don't, yes, Casper, that's my cat. He tends to like to show up when I'm working. Sorry, guys. Even if we don't have a conscious awareness of why, or can't necessarily express it or put it into words, there's a reason. And I'm getting that for many of you. There have been people that this shadow tendency of yours has protected you, particularly if this shadow was developed during this lifetime from caregivers who weren't good at love, who weren't healthy people. And because of how we're made, our imprint often is, or our habit is to connect with others who are like those initial caregivers. That imprint is there, and so this protective tendency of yours, this inability to express your love or to share your love, may have kept you from perpetuating or starting generational trauma or bad relationships, in the bloodline because of that. So just, something to give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back for, I guess. I don't know, that I hope you get my intention there. But yeah, I'm definitely getting, for the majority of you, there are people, like, let me know in the comments if that's something that, like, that you're like, yeah, Shon, that makes sense to me because I'm remembering this person. Like, is there someone in your past who, like, immediately came to mind for you when I said that, like, now in retrospect, you're glad you did not share your feelings with them, your feelings for them with them? Like, maybe later on down the line, you found out that this person is a horrible significant other or friend, or there's someone in your family who's betrayed the whole family. Let me know. Tell me about that. I'd be very interested to know. And you guys, to the best of your ability, and this gets back to what we talked about earlier about self-acceptance and the need I feel to accept one's shadow. To the best of your ability, do not hold judgment against yourself about this aspect of your personhood. Trust. There it is again. Trust that there has been a legit reason why you've been unwilling to accept love or to ask for love, or in some cases to offer love or show love. This can be a hard thing for those of us who have, again, caregivers or parents who we didn't feel loved by or accepted by. There was probably something inside of them that kept them from offering or showing love. Not making excuses for them, but you may not find yourself in a similar scenario, and you can choose for yourself whether or not you feel safe enough to ever change that. This thing that has served you, you may decide, hey, I don't want to use that as my primary tool for protection anymore. And, like, whether or not you choose to heal your fear of being vulnerable, or rather the fear of accepting love from others or asking for it from others, which may make you feel vulnerable, or, depending on the conditioning you've had around it, make you seem weak. As I said at the top of this guidance, just know that you are worthy of love. And your higher self, and this is a higher self oracle. I can't remember if I said that or not, but your higher self has known this all along, that you're worthy of love, and that is why it has been choosing to protect you in this way. Also, for some of us, you only know what you know. And if you happen to be a child when you start these kinds of protective behaviors, you do the best you can to cope with the situation you find yourself in. So, your higher self has been wisely helping you with this shadow aspect, or using the shadow aspect to help you. I feel that very strongly for many of you. And and that behavior or that tendency may have continued long beyond the original threat. That original threat may have been gone for many, many years, but the imprint has been strong, and it has been acclimated as part of your personality, if even only at the shadow level. So choosing whether or not to heal this or keep it as part of your personality is 100% up to you. And when you decide that you want a detailed personal reading around this, I have 2 readings in my Etsy shop that would really help you in this area. One is the new love reading. It's for cultivating new love, or if you're seeking new love, as opposed to a reading around like already toxic situations. And then the other reading that I offer on the Etsy shop that would be very helpful for those of you who chose this group today is the life after the narcissist reading, because a lot of times many of us have narcissistic parents or had narcissistic parents and didn't even realize it. If you listen to the intro, you heard me talk about my father, and I always knew something was wrong with my father, and we all knew that he had a very grandiose personality, but we didn't have the word narcissist or so much awareness around narcissism then as we do now. My father has passed. He's been gone now for almost 10 years. December of this year will be 10 years. But I went no contact with him before I knew no contact was a thing. But on the other side of having had a narcissistic parent or partner or supervisor or, sibling, there is life. And if you choose to do healing work around that, My Life After the Narcissist reading is a great option for you for trying to reconnect with yourself and the things that make you you, and having more joy in your life. That's my whole thing, you guys. If you've been here to this channel before, you know that I focus on that because we should get to enjoy our lives regardless of what our past has been. You have the right to that. And when you decide that you want to do a personal reading from me, you can decide which of those two works for you. You can choose one of the many other options that are on the shop if you feel like they align for you better. I will gift you with 15% toward your order. Just use the code shon.vibes. It's the name of this channel, all one word. And 15% of the price will be reduced for you at checkout. Okay, and the link to my Etsy shop is in the description. It's in the description of every video. Okay, you guys, that is what I have for you today. I hope that you find it helpful. I really, really do hope that this is helpful to you. Again, as I said, I think maybe like 17 times now, the biggest takeaway I hope you get from this, actually, there's two things that I've said, so I'm like lying. I'm contradicting myself is what it is. The one thing is that you are worthy of love. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of love as you are now, which brings us to the second thing that I keep stressing. Accept yourself. Accept all parts of yourself, even those parts of ourselves that we deem as shadow. Shadow doesn't have to mean bad. Just a reminder, this is a collaboration with Scarlet Serpent Tarot. So now that you have gotten this reading, of course, feel free to check out other piles here in this video. You might have more shadow aspects that would like to be brought into the light for you. And then go on over to Gian's reading at Scarlet Serpent Tarot, where he is going to look into who your shadow god or goddess is. I think you're really, really going to enjoy that. Yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to do those snaps. I don't know, you guys. Joy is coursing through me right now, and for that I am grateful, and I just always want to share that energy with you. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Hey, group 2, welcome to your reading. So listen, we have a visitor. My cat Casper wanted to be a part of your reading right now. Do you guys have pets? If you have a pet, is your pet like mine, where every time you sit down to do work, that's when they want the most attention? If so, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know, like, what kind of pets do you have? Are they needy? Everyone always says cats can be ignored. I don't think any living thing likes to be ignored. And so I have spoiled this guy his whole life. And now whenever I sit down to do a video, do you see his paws? There he is. Say hi to the people, Cass. Whenever I go to do a video, he is like, meow, meow. He's all about it. He's, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? He wants to be the center of attention. And this just happens to be one of those days that I don't have the camera facing me, but just the cards. So at some point, he's probably going to want to jump down and not be with us. But for right now, he is joining us for this reading. As I mentioned at the start of the reading, in the intro, today's reading is a collab with the amazing Gian over at, oh no, Casper, no, no, honey, at Scarlet Serpent Tarot. We are looking at shadow stuff today, and I really love this topic. So here on my end, we are going to be looking at aspects of your shadow self. We are going to use the tarot to determine aspects of your shadow self. And these may be things that you're already aware of. They may be things that come up that are brand new to you. It's news to you, right? And then after you've watched this video, go over to Gian's channel, Scarlet Serpent Tarot, and he's going to look into who your shadow god or goddess is, which I find very, very fascinating to consider that there might be, I assume this is the approach he's going to take. We didn't discuss it at length, but the idea that there might be a god or goddess out there who has been helping you or yes, Casper, or guiding you even though you didn't know it. I assume that's what he's going to be looking at, but I don't know for certain. So definitely when you're done here, go over there and check that out. So you guys over here in group 2, you were drawn into your reading today by the Wiser Tarot, or possibly specifically by the 10 of Pentacles card, or maybe a combination of both. So I've put the card back in the deck. As I mention all the time, the decks have all been pre-shuffled, but you will oftentimes still see me side shuffle as I select cards, because it does help me to ground the energy. And also it's just, a habit. So we will be pulling one card to let us, at least the intention is one card. Sometimes more than one card will come out even when we want one. So we're going to pull from the tarot to get a sense of what your shadow, what an aspect or aspects of your personality are at a shadow position right now, right? And then we're going to talk about, what may have caused these aspects of your personality or these aspects of your personhood to become shadow, and not in the light. And then we're going to talk about how you can embrace that shadow and or that shadow aspect of yourself and have it work for you more in your life than work against you. I am not a person that necessarily believes that the shadow aspects of ourselves need to be eradicated. I do adhere to the concept of healing work around shadow for sure, but I feel like some people mistakenly believe that they need to get rid of, because shadow just has, we have this idea of shadow based on the word because of things we've seen on TV or movies or in books, literature, creative things, possibly even religious or spiritual teachings. But I am of the belief that every aspect of ourselves needs to be honored, is part of us, and can be useful to us. And so that's how we're going to approach this today. All right, so let's pick your first card. I'm going to connect with my higher self and my guides as I select the card for your reading. And I invite you to do the same. Group 2. Can we please give those who are drawn to this pile an insight into what a shadow aspect of themselves, I hope I said that right, what might be one of their shadow aspects, or if there are a couple that you want to make known to us today, we are open to both, one or many. And guys, I also want to let you know that because there may be many aspects of you that have been banished to the shadow heretofore in your life, you might want to check out more than one pile. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, so we have Knight of Cups. Very interesting. Oh. And the reason why I say that, and the sigh, that very heavy and dramatic sigh, came out afterward, is because another group, I won't say which, but another group got Cups energy as being a shadow aspect of themselves. And guys, I'm sad to say, while it has shocked me both times, it doesn't surprise me. I know that probably sounds maybe a little contradictory to some people, but it's because we just have so many narratives around love, and so few of us have models for good love, healthy love, fulfilling love. And we go out into the world, even way before we start getting involved with people on a romantic level, seeking love, because that is the nature of the living, is to seek love. Even plants, I believe, right? Because you know how they turn towards the sun? The sun is very naturally nurturing. It's literally the sun's job is to nurture. And so it's the nature of all that is living to seek love. But for you guys, with it being Knight of Cups specifically, and it being a shadow aspect of yourself, it feels as though for you, it's the ability to take action in love has been banished. Whether that is romantic love or it's platonic love with friends or familial love with clearly those who we call family, or some combination. I'm also getting that for some of you, it may be taking action on anything that you love, not just people, that there is a stifling of love energy that happens, even if it's not about love to another person, but love of something. You may be that person who feels afraid when you feel love. The love of something, when you feel love for that, I couldn't think of the preposition for a second. I was like, what is the freaking word I'm looking for? When you feel love for something, it may frighten you to the point of paralysis. This paralysis might present itself as becoming overly analytical about it. This paralysis may present itself as just shutting it down, denigrating it, down talking it. It may present itself as denial, straight up just denial, and not even allowing yourself to see or feel, therefore to acknowledge, not allowing the self to acknowledge the feeling of love for something or someone. So when I say something, that's usually like an activity. So that could be, like, just taking a example here from the Knight of Cups, right? Say you went horseback riding for the first time and you felt that you really, really, really loved that experience. Like, it might have called to your soul in some way, the connection with the horse, the feeling of the wind on your face as you rode, whatever might be the case. Something inspired in your heart or in the heart chakra area, feelings of joy, fulfillment, satisfaction, love. And there, for a split second, you felt you wanted as much of this as you could possibly have. And then, because this is in the shadow position for you, you shut it down. There might be a tendency towards self-sabotage. So for some of you, it could be a conscious decision when you feel love for something or somebody to close that door, not explore. No pun intended, but I could do more. But I said pun, but I meant rhyme. Anyway, no rhyme intended, but I could have done more. Anyway, so yeah, definitely getting that action, action or hobbies, endeavors, maybe even interest for a kind of work you might want to do. Anything that sparks inspiration inside of you. There's when that feeling of love comes up, it becomes scary. So there could be the tendency to consciously just shut it down and shut it out, as I was saying before I decided I wanted to be Grandmaster Flash. Or it could be a subconscious self-sabotaging habit. But love and taking action in love in particular is where there tends to be shadow it's underneath. It's not allowed into the light for you. And how this could have come about, I mentioned that we would talk about that. So, for some of it, it could be the most obvious thing, right, would be severe disappointment, severe disappointment. This is definitely the case for any of you who came from a broken family. If you had, at least that's what we used to call it in the 80s. They probably call it something else now, especially since we've got this wonderful term co-parenting. But if your parents split, and it doesn't matter when they split, whether it was early in your life, in the teen years, or when you were a full-grown adult. But let's just say, for the sake of an example of how this might have become a shadow thing for you. If the non-custodial parent, the one you didn't live with, had the habit of letting you down, had the habit of not showing up for things they were supposed to show up for. What you would have learned was to look forward to things, to hope for things, to be excited about things, because not living with that parent, you would, of course, always be excited about the possibility of seeing them. Unless they were just like a shitty parent, right? But for the most part, kids, they give a lot of license to parents, even when the parents happen to be awful. And there are many awful parents out there. And so you would have learned not to look forward to things. And if you don't allow yourself to even look forward to things, then you definitely would not develop into a person who was comfortable taking action on something that might bring you joy. It's possibly even a true fear of joy, so the ability to take action on something that is inspiring or that you feel love for is definitely a shadow aspect of you, but then also just the expectation of joy at all might be blocked. And, for others of you, you didn't come from a broken home. It might be a human that was not a member of your family that broke your heart. Or it could have been the loss of a beloved pet, or an opportunity. Say there was something that you were promised to be able to do, and then without explanation or for no seemingly fair reason, that got taken away from you. For some of you, it could also be actually just be an aspect of your personality. If you happen to just be, have what's the word I'm looking for? Debilitating shyness. And so, what I didn't mention in this one is that the shadow doesn't necessarily have to have been formed during, how do I put this? Listen, let me just full disclosure. I don't know if I believe in multiple lifetimes or not. This is a concept that I'm just starting to learn things around. And but I do find it very, very intriguing. And so for those of you who align with the idea of living multiple lifetimes, the soul continuing beyond any one particular lifetime, reincarnation, anything, related to that, there are some teachings out there that the shadow gets developed or can get developed, not just through the experiences you have had in your past during this lifetime, but things that carry over, that come with your soul as you enter this lifetime from past or previous lifetimes. Those are the same thing. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify past with previous. I don't know. They're literally the same thing. But, and so is prior. So for some of you, particularly if you identify with having debilitating shyness or crippling fear, I just actually felt that one in my stomach. For you, it could be that came with you in this lifetime. But it could just as easily be something that developed within this lifetime because of experiences you've had. With the first, I feel that is more along the lines of it possibly being at this point, or not at this point, but being a part of the true personality as you know it so far. But with the second, where it was, the offshoot of an experience that's been had here, experience or experiences that have been had here in this lifetime, I feel that those are anomalies to the personality, that they're not who you truly are. And something, it was a mode of survival in some way to relegate the ability to act in love or act on love or take action towards something that you love. It was an act of survival to not allow yourself to do that anymore. Possibly in some cases, literal physical survival, because you might have lived with people who did damage to you if you got too excited about something or if you tried something. They may have actually actively tried to sabotage you. I had a parent that literally as many times as he possibly could while he was living, constantly tried to sabotage me. It was pleasant. And then for some of you, it could just be that it was a matter of survival to relegate the ability to take action on what you love into the shadow. It was a matter of psychological survival. So it wasn't necessarily so much that there might have been physical harm done to you for trying to be, do, or have something, be excited about something, but that it just, it got attacked. Some of you watched the conversation series I recently did with Jenny Florence of Moon Magic Weekly Tarot. And I think it was during the conversation that aired. It might have been on some of our off recording conversation, but she did, give me permission to share from both. So I will share this with you. But she spoke about the fact that it was in the aired section, because I remember Inisha, my friend Inisha, watched it, and she mentioned that when Jenny spoke on this, it aligned for her. She found that it was something that, like, really, here's that term I hate, resonated for her. But Jenny learned to keep herself to herself in the family that she grew up in, and it was a mode of survival. And though she didn't go into a lot of detail around that, it felt very clear that this was a psychological and possibly psycho-emotional choice that she made to preserve that which was precious to her. And that could have been the case for you guys too, or for some of you as well. So what I have here is I have 3 oracle decks. And I didn't say this at the top of this one like I did in one of the previous readings. It is, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 oracle decks. And not because we're going to pull from every single one, but these are the ones that I was called to bring to your reading today. And this is what I do when I do personal readings for people too. Whatever decks feel like they might be, like, I don't even have the right words for it, because it's just energy, right? And so what comes up is like, take this one, get that one, and I pull them all, and I shuffle them, and I prep them, and I lay them out. I lay them out. They are lying on the table. I don't know. I'm gonna have to work on that. Anyway, and then what I say in the readings, the personal readings that I do for people, which are available to you on Etsy if you feel like you want one, and I'll say it here to you guys as well, is I then see what comes up during the reading and how the flow of energy seems to guide me towards which decks to use. And I'm feeling very much for you guys. It's the Vanessa Samoyana Wild Muse Tarot. Sorry, Wild Muse Oracle that we are going to be finding out how you can best embrace this shadow aspect of yourself. And I feel compelled to remind you, this is not about, this one came out already, healing it or making it go away. But it's how you use that which is right now in shadow, how you bring it into the light and use it in your life, or let it assist you in your life. So to give you an example, for me, I haven't done Jan's reading yet. I haven't gone to get my guidance from there yet, because clearly at the time I'm recording this, we haven't premiered these videos yet. But I have, in some of my own readings and some of my own work here at my house, personally found 2 goddesses to be shadow goddesses for me, that growing up and in the majority of my adulthood, I either did not have an awareness of them, or one of them I didn't have a knowledge that she was considered a goddess until a particular oracle deck of mine included her, and I was like, yeah, I see that. But they are Medusa and Kalima. And and those of you who are familiar with those goddesses, you already know what the shadow aspect of my personality was. And it was anger. It was anger. It was anger. And I love that I learned how to look at my anger as a good thing, as opposed to something I needed to make go away, because I had learned to not be angry. And it didn't work, y'all, because I was angry. Like, it's almost like making myself not be angry made me angrier. And so now what I've learned to do, and what I'm still learning to do and allowing myself to do, is to not just notice my anger, but own my anger, embrace my anger, and use it. Because listen, y'all, when I get angry, shit gets done. Okay? Like, there's just no getting around it. And I'm not saying that, I'm not encouraging that anybody go out there and be abusive to anybody. And I try not to be, though, you know, certain times of the month, yeah, I'm sure I'm a bitch. But things just opened up more for me when I became aware of what had happened, and that it was okay for me to have that anger, that it was okay, and not necessarily that anger, because that makes it sound like anger about a specific thing, but have anger as one of my legit emotions that I have a right to as a human. You have a right as a living being to every single piece of you that exists. You have a right to that. And if you ever want to change any of it, you can, but you don't have to make it go away. And you certainly don't have to make it go away for other people's comfort. And that's what I had learned to do. I saw my mother live with a lot of fear when I was young. And so I hated the feeling. I hated that feeling. And so I endeavored to be a person that didn't cause fear in others, because there was, you know, my father was a scary man. He was a very scary man. And so I learned from him, or by osmosis, that like anger was bad because of the way in which he approached anger. Okay. And then as I got older and became a teen, of course I was hormonal, which teens oftentimes have anger. Plus there was all my like stuff that was back there from the troubledness of, I don't know if that's a word, of, or from the traumas that I had had as a child, right? And so that made my anger even bigger. And then of course there was no acceptance of that anger by those around me. And there certainly was no attempt to teach me how to process anger properly. And so now as an adult, I am learning to take these parts of myself that were shunned or shamed, whether by others or by myself, and, you know, own them as a piece of me and start using them to my own benefit. And it makes such a difference. I love it. I will never live without my anger again. Okay, so the first card that came out for you guys is Hope. Woo! Sorry, I know that was loud. Oh, my stomach, y'all. I felt that in my stomach. Oh, don't you love how Southern I just got for a second? If you don't know me, I am from the South. But y'all, it says hope is on the horizon. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, we talked about this Knight of Cups as, you know, indicating that you've been resistant to taking action on things that you love or towards people that you love. And while that is true, you know, this hope on the horizon. It doesn't say hope is, it says hope on the horizon card. This indicates that even despite that, you have continued to be an idealist. I don't know what idealist is. I guess an idealist would be somebody who's just like really idle, who just sits around doing nothing. Ooh, that's Freudian, because I mean, not to sound judgy or anything, but that kind of applies here too, because of the resistance to taking action. But the word that I meant in that moment was idealist. And, you know, as an idealist, sorry, the table has been pretty shaky during this recording, I'm sure. As an idealist, your inner world is like probably filled with plans and dreams that you've fleshed out in your mind, but you just haven't explored them in your physical life yet because of this shadow aspect of yourself. And the truth is, you guys, you know, I'm getting that you may do well as a writer, W-R-I-T-E-R. You might do You might do well writing if you feel called to create, particularly if you feel called to create fictionally. Or you might do well as an advisor to others if your tendency towards communication is more like on the analytical side or more of an analytical nature than creative, But let's say, if it's creative for you, if that intrigued you at all, I'm getting like writing stories where you like fictionalize yourself, where you create yourself as the kind of person who can and does willingly take action. Whether this is from a fantastical standpoint and it's like big, huge actions, for instance, in the style of like a Lord of the Rings or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or it's, a person who has situations in their life or relationships that they choose to take action on. If you let yourself write this out, and I'm not saying that you have to like publish, get this kind of writing published or share it with anybody else or try to sell it, but just for yourself, bringing your inner world into the physical through this writing, particularly if you do it fictionally, it'll be very, very similar to the, or I should say, even if you do it fictionally, it'll be very, very similar to the manifestation or law of attraction technique of scripting. Particularly if you base the character on you. Feel free to even name that character. So basically I'm like, so what I'm getting here is basically it's like scripting, but from the, in the third person. First person. I got that all wrong. First person, where you say I. No, wait, no, hold on. I'm getting confused because like there's so much coming to me at once. What I'm trying to get at, you guys, and thank you for your patience while I decipher all the stuff that's coming, because there's another piece that's like sitting there going, me, Shon, me. But however you choose to do it, whether you write about this fictionalized character from the first person where you say I, me, and you're talking about yourself, or you say she or he or them as though it's a person outside of yourself, but you are living out what's inside of you through this writing. Either way, it is very similar to the manifestation technique of scripting, and then and scripting is one of the tools for bringing that which you want for yourself into your reality. And then if for you becoming an advisor to others, again, even if only informally, not like you have to go to school now and become a counselor and set up shop and all of that, but just, being that person that gives insights, particularly around things that you are excited about, inspired by, have a love for, relationships themselves, which are about love, again, whether they are romantic or familial or platonic friendships. Doing that might embolden you as well. So if you're not someone who has that tendency towards wanting to create, but the communication for you is more about analysis or analytical thinking than creative thinking or creative communication. Every time you give useful feedback to somebody around that topic, whatever that topic might be, you will hear yourself speak. And your hearing yourself speak about these things in this way will be adjacent. It is adjacent to the manifestation technique of using affirmations, So you will be affirming that which is inside of you. And again, I'm not saying get out there and start telling everybody everything about everything or acting like a know-it-all. Not that there's anything wrong with know-it-alls. I happen to know a very beloved one. But but I'm just saying in particular around things that mean a lot to you, because the shadow aspect for you has been an inability to take action, or inability or unwillingness to take action on things that that hold special place in your heart. And so, either way, whether you go the using your words in an analytical way with others, or you are someone who decides to, write it out, you will be taking indirect action towards that which you love or what you feel you'd love to do. Because what I think I may have forgotten to say about the writing is you would be writing about those things that, again, inspire you, excite you, that you feel love for, or love relationships, or a love relationship. You might become a romance writer out of this. Again, not that you have to get published, but if you want to do it, But you'll be taking an indirect action towards these areas that you love, and where you feel inspired, without shoving yourself out of your current comfort zone. And this is the embracing of the shadow without feeling the need to fix, eradicate, or heal the shadow if you're not yet ready to do that. But letting it live, and letting it live within you in a productive way. Self-acceptance, you guys, I say it all the time. Self-acceptance is super important. And it is the biggest thing that the biggest thing that I advocate for is self-love and being on your own side. You might hear me say that a lot. Be on your own side, be on your own side. So, self-acceptance is super important, and it is a precursor to self-love. You have got to accept yourself in order to be able, or maybe it's one of those which came first, chicken or the egg things, It's like, does self-acceptance lead to self-love, or does the fact that you have self-love allow you to be self-accepting? But either way, I feel that self-love and self-acceptance start with acknowledging and embracing where you currently are without judgment. Without judgment. And, this hope is, sorry, I keep saying is hope on the horizon. It feels as though the message here is in regards specifically to what we're talking about today and where you have been and how this shadow has been affecting you so far. Allowing hope to live, which you have been doing. The hope has still been there. The feelings of love have still been there, even if you haven't acted on them. It's been distant, but it's been there, And listen, when you decide that you want a detailed personal reading around this, I have a law of attraction reading in my Etsy shop, right? You may not know that, but maybe you do. Yeah, I have a law. Well, you can call it manifestation acceleration also, but I think I have it labeled as law of attraction reading. So tarot reading, in case that's not clear, and I don't know why it wouldn't be clear since we're in this moment doing a tarot video. But anyway, yes, I have a law of attraction reading that might be useful to you for, just digging around in this a little bit more. And then another reading that I offer is the new love reading for those of you where it really resonated around an inability or unwillingness to take action in love relationships, whether they are romantic or not. But if you are feeling it more around romantic relationships, my new love reading is a perfect tool for you because it's specifically about seeking love or creating new relationships, as opposed to things that have already been hurtful or painful or feel toxic in any way. There are plenty of readers out there that will go into your third party questions for you, or your specific person readings, or any of those things that are relationships that already exist in your world. But if you're looking to create a new way of having a love life with new opportunities, new people, and bringing that shadow self a little bit of relief, my new love reading is a great tool for you there. Okay, so, and whenever you decide which of those two readings you would like, I will be gifting you 15% towards your order when you use the code shon.vibes. So the name of this channel, all one word, no period. And hopefully You can start bringing some of your hopes into reality if you choose to. But if you choose not to, that is also fine. Own them. They are yours. It is part of you. Your shadow is also part of you. Okay? Okay, you guys, so that is what I have for you today. I want to thank you again for being here as always. And I'd like to remind you that today's reading is a collaboration with Scarlet Serpent Tarot. So now that you have gotten this reading, actually, feel free to take a look at one of the other piles if you felt your intuition was calling you to check out one of my other piles here on this channel. And then once you're done with all of the things that I have for you here that you feel are for you today, head on over to Scarlet Serpent Tarot, and Gian over there is going to guide you in a reading around your shadow god or goddess. I can only imagine that it will be amazing. I can only imagine that it will be great. So, yeah, that's it. That's the whole story. Thank you so much for being here, you guys, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Hi, group 3. Welcome to your reading. You know what? I want to find a more original way of welcoming you guys to your groups for each pick-up pile because, isn't that what everybody says? Hi, group 3. Welcome to your reading. I could be like, yo, what's up, group 3? You ready for this right here, right here, right here? Anyway, as usual, I am in a bit of a silly mood. So, you guys, I want to remind you that today's video is a collaboration with Scarlet Serpent Tarot. Here on this end, we are going to be looking at an aspect, possibly more than one aspect, depending on what happens with the cards, how many come out when I pull, of your shadow self. And how you can embrace that part of your personhood. And Gian over at Scarlet Serpent Tarot is going to be reading for you around your shadow deity. So that's the god or goddess that might be at work in your life and you don't even know it. At least that's how I'm assuming he's planning on defining it. I don't know. We didn't talk in detail about that. We just talked about, who's going to cover what side. So, I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say to you before I got started. Well, the obvious, which is that you were drawn into your reading today by the Gilded Tarot Royale, by Ciro Marchetti, or possibly the Fool card, specifically, wait, let me do it this way. Specifically the Fool card from this deck, or, the two together just felt like a winner to you. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to put this deck back together. We're going to pull from the entire thing. Oh, yes, I remember what I was going to tell you, and it's this. We're going to pull from the tarot deck first to learn what the shadow aspect of your person. I don't want to just say personality because it might be, at a soul level, if that's something that you tend to believe in. I'm still learning about things like past lives, so I'm not quite sure how I define lots of things. But, the aspect of shadow or shadow traits, it can be applied to the personality based on psychology. For those who only believe we have one life right here, right now. And then for others who believe in us having large souls who live multiple lives and have, a belief in reincarnation, it could be that the shadow was developed in one of your past lives as opposed to just your past here in this life. So we're going to pull from the tarot deck to discover what that shadow self is for you. And then we're going to pull from one of these 4 oracle decks that I've also prepared. These are the decks that I was called to include in the video readings today based on this topic, but it's not an indication that we'll be reading from each and every one of them. After we've done your initial part of the reading, I follow the energy, and so what comes up as the next right step is what we'll do. That's how it'll be determined which deck we pull your guidance from on how you can embrace that shadow. So all of that being said, that was a long second intro for you guys. I'm a talky one today. Let's get started. I'm going to connect with my higher self and my guides as I side shuffle. All of the decks have been thoroughly shuffled before I hit record. However, you will oftentimes see me side shuffle because it does help me to ground the energy. Touching base with my higher self and my guides, I invite you to do the same as we find out the shadow aspect of your, oh, look at that, self. All right, so we have, interesting, the Hierophant. The Hierophant. I'm sitting here going like, where should I put that? Not that it really matters a whole lot. So, for you all, it feels as though there might be a bit of a judgmental nature to you. A bit of a stringency that is operating behind the scenes in your life. The shadow is, that aspect of ourselves that we are not necessarily conscious of. Sometimes we've done the work that's helped us make some sense of or have an understanding of what our shadow is, and we begin to work through it if we choose to, or work with it, which is the goal of today's reading here on the shon.vibes YouTube channel. And I'm getting judgmentalness, and it's not because the Hierophant card means judgment. It doesn't. We have other cards in the tarot for that. One that's actually called a judgment card. But it's the fact that the Hierophant represents tradition. And tradition usually indicates rules. And rules are the marker by which we determine for ourselves how well we are doing. And if we have the tendency to be self-assessing all the time like that, we also oftentimes are in the habit of making judgments about how well others are or are not doing. So yeah, there's the tradition aspect, of Hierophant. The learning aspect. Again, learning tends to imply rules or ways of doing things, processes. And, most importantly, as I am reading for you and tapped into my own intuitive gifts and psychic gifts as I do it with all of the readings, those that are more contemplative like this one, or those that are fast-paced and fun like the Truth or Dare readings or the Yes No readings that we do. What came up, and I got a hit in my stomach when I heard it, was, there's just a little bit of a judgment habit there. A little bit of a feeling holier than thou. A little bit of a need to be superior to others, whether you're conscious of that or not. This may be something that has been taught to you by the culture that you're from, or it could have been taught to you by the religion that you practice, which is a pretty spot on here. It could have been taught to you by the socioeconomic class that you belong to, or even just right in your family of origin. But there's something there around having a pretty stringent sense of the way things should be done, and also the way things should not be done, or the way things shouldn't happen. I mean, for you guys who chose this group today, you may be having a horrific time with the state of the world right now, because so much is happening and so much is getting overturned, and there's so much upheaval, and there's so much awareness of things that people didn't know anything about. And it's like chaos. It's so much like chaos that some people who are, uber religious in Christian traditions, some have been heard to say they think that we are currently in the end times. Now, I'm not going to investigate that, and I'm certainly not going to try to expound on it here in this reading. But I bring it up to say that for you, the amount of chaos that's been going on may be even more disruptive internally than it is for most. And many people are having a hard time with it. Some of us, so, as far back as 2016, I stopped watching cable news. 2016, right after that one election. You know the one I'm talking about. And I used to watch it a lot. I used to watch it 24/7 almost, not quite, but almost. And I had to pull back from that. And so for you guys that have operating as a shadow aspect of your personality, the idea of a true north, so to speak, right? Though technically true north typically has a more positive connotation than the word judgmental does. But, this sense of the way things should be, the way things should go, what's right, what's wrong, who's right, who's wrong, who's doing what, how they're doing it, all that stuff. If you tend to be affected by that way of thinking, particularly on a subconscious level and not even aware of that, you might think you're super open-minded, but really there's a little bit of judgment for others, or comparing. Oh yes, I just got that heavily. The comparing oneself, a habit of comparing yourself to others in an effort. It's not coming from a nefarious place. And I probably should have said that earlier. Many of you may not even still be listening. You may have clicked off because you're like, she's calling me judgmental. Who is she? She's the judgmental one. But I don't think it's coming from a place of trying to be harmful to anybody. I think it feels as though it's your way of determining how well you're doing, gauging your own progress, your own fitness, as it were. So, if you listen to enough of my videos, it probably is clear that I put a lot of stock in how we were raised, or what our early childhood experiences were in terms of forming us and turning us into who we are now. So you may have come from an environment where you were not just fully and readily accepted as you were. That in order to be a part of that environment, you had to adhere to certain rules, certain belief systems. Now, all children have, most children. Some parents don't give rules. I have judgments about that. But most of us grow up with some sort of guidance. And you might have come from a home where part of the environment was, it didn't include just the space for you to be as you were, and learning how to process life based on who you were. That it was more, you have to be this certain way, or you have to do this certain thing, or you have to not be this certain way, or not do this certain thing in order to be an okay person. And that taught you to always be looking out for how you're doing. And being young, you may have learned to compare yourself to others in order to gauge your own progress. And for some of you, I'm also getting to, yes, Casper, that is his third appearance. So, yeah, do I need to pause this? I feel like you might want me to pause this. You guys, I'm going to try to keep going. So my cat has been, I've recorded this video over the course of 3 days, and in each and every single one of these readings, he has either shown up on camera or made a vocal, shall we call it a pronouncement of his presence, as Justin likes to say, he calls him the little prince, but anyway, so a gauging of how you're doing, what your process or your progress is, and then possibly an attempt to avoid criticism. So there's a little bit of a hypervigilance, and that hypervigilance has gone beyond just the self. It's gone beyond just assessing you, but the shadow piece of it is becoming judgmental of others. This may present itself in your life as judgment of individuals, judgment of cultural groups, judgment of certain professions, like politicians. You might find yourself to be super judgmental of them instead of possibly thinking that they too are just humans doing the best they can in this moment with what they have available to them. Judgment of other nations. We tend to be, over here in the States, we tend to be really good at that. Judgment of certain regions of the country. You know, when I first got to Los Angeles, I was off-put by the amount of judgment Californians had for the South. I'm from the South, and I lived very happily in the South the majority of my life. But Californians, a good portion of them felt that they were just better in their thinking around things and tried to superimpose their beliefs on other parts of the country, not just the South, but other parts of the country. And I tend to be of the belief that it's better if we are all just able to live. Every region of the country has its own culture, and that's a good thing. You know, we are not a monolith, nor should we be. So that's what I've got for you guys in terms of your shadow aspect. It does seem to be around judgment and an over adherence to reliance on need for rules. You might be severely uncomfortable when you find yourself in scenarios or in environments where the rules aren't clear cut. If you were a dancer, for instance, you might be way more inclined to enjoy doing ballet because it's got very specific, it's a codified art form, as opposed to, you know, there's very much, you do this and you do it this way and this is what it looks like. Versus you may have been someone who absolutely hated being asked to freestyle. Because, well, what are the rules? What do I do? How do I get it right? You know? And it also makes it harder for you to judge whether or not somebody else is doing a good job. Just an example. Just an example. All right, so for you guys, I am feeling that your guidance on how to fully embrace, or at least begin to embrace, this shadow aspect of yourself is coming from the... what's it called? The star deck? That doesn't sound right. Hold on. I've got two different decks that have the word star in them. One of them is the Star Tarot, which, you know, try Googling that and see what comes up. Sorry, guys. Just realized I pushed the table. And then this one, I think they're just called the star cards. Like, you know, they're not called oracle cards, but that's essentially what they are. And I don't know why I felt so much like I needed to look that up for you. You don't care. Or if you happen to know, let me know in the comments, you know, just put it down there. Hey, Shon, that deck is called the, and in case I didn't say it, this one is the Higher Self Oracle, which is one of my favorites. This one is Vanessa Samaya's Wild Muse Oracle, which I thought I was going to love because when I saw people using it in their readings, the cards are beautiful, but I don't use it near as much as I thought I would when I bought it. And then this is the Chakra Love cards. So we're going to pull your guidance on how to fully embrace yourself from this. Oh, look at that. It jumped right on star cards. And your guidance says oh my God, I love this. Singularity. You are your own sun, moon, and stars. Look at that. So the guidance here on how to fully embrace even this judgmental aspect of the self, or I should just say the shadow aspect of the self, is that it's as simple as it's part of who you are. You can, of course, choose to change that. You have every right to make whatever adjustments to who you are and how you process that you want. But I feel that your guidance here is really affirming the fact that even if you don't, it's okay. You are a full universe unto yourself. None of us is 100% good or 100% bad. None of us is, you know, you can heal your way to wholeness, but you cannot heal your way to perfection. right? And so a great way for you to move forward with the knowledge of this tendency towards judgment of the self or judgment of others as being a shadow aspect of your personhood is to know as you go forward, and as you catch yourself doing this, give it a hug. Give it a mental hug by saying something as simple as, I can see why you feel that way. I can see why you think that. And then if you should choose to adjust your thinking in that moment, or explore it more deeply through healing work with some sort of a practitioner, or doing some self-help stuff on your own. There's a couple of great YouTube channels for doing some inner work. Whatever course you choose, you can. But definitely, you are your own sun, moon, and stars. And so basically the guidance here is, don't judge your judgment. When I said judgment or judgmentalness at the top, you might have been like, and shut that off, as I, mentioned earlier. Shut it off in your mind. So that's a judgment right there. That's judging this part of yourself. We all have shadow. We all have shadow. And I've heard someone say, I wish I could remember who it was, that it might have been Christina Lopes. I tend to be a big fan of her teachings on spirituality. But whoever it was, I remember them saying that you may discover and fully heal a shadow aspect of yourself. But because you are still alive and still having experiences, you might develop yet another shadow aspect after that, So just be careful of trying to, erase you, and let this part of yourself live along with the parts that you feel less judgment or shame around. Judgment and shame are interconnected a lot, But anything is surmountable, and I think most things are healable, but I do believe they begin with acceptance of the thing. It probably begins with awareness of the thing and then acceptance of that thing. That would make more sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That is what I have for you today, you guys. Listen, I want to remind you that today's video is a collab with Scarlet Serpent Tarot. So if you have listened to all the piles you felt drawn to here in this video, head over there and let Gian give you some insight around who your shadow god or shadow goddess is. And as far as this is concerned, if you this shadow aspect that we've discovered for you, when you feel like you want to do some further exploration to learn more about it, or if you even decide, hey, you know what, I do want to heal that, or I do want to, whether you choose to acclimate it more in your life or you choose to bring it into light in order to heal it, whatever course you take, I have personal readings detailed personal readings available for you on my Etsy shop that will specifically help you with this. One in particular that comes to mind is my Life After the Narcissist reading. That one is, and I say that because I feel like oftentimes when we come from a space of judgment, if we have judgment operational inside of us, whether we're conscious of it or not, it is because of having been scapegoated or found ourselves in other overly critical or toxic environments. And my Life After the Narcissist reading will definitely help you begin to build yourself beyond whatever the negative experience you've had, whether it was teachings from the family of origin, or it was the experience that you had with a narcissistic partner, or possibly even a narcissistic boss, to be able to, bring yourself out of the self-judgment and the self-criticism that are the result of such relationships, and be able to live a more connected, authentic life that is full of joy, that represents who you are and what it is you really want. And then there's also the Life Path Destiny reading. Sometimes when we have judgment at play, it's because of the fact that we're not, sure. Again, it's about what I said earlier, about trying to define what it is we're experiencing, and maybe getting some connection to understanding of what your personal life path or what your destiny might be would be very, very beneficial for you. So again, that reading is also available on my in my Etsy shop. I think we're supposed to say in. I think in is the preposition for Etsy shop. So the link to that is in the description box here, and I will gift you with 15% towards your reading if you choose to come and get a reading from me by offering you this code. It's shon.vibes. Basically the name of the channel, but without the period in the middle, okay? Not basically, exactly that. So it's shon.vibes, all one word with no period. And if you use that at checkout, you will be gifted 15% towards your reading. I have many different options there for you on the in the Etsy shop. So if those two are intriguing, but you're like, wait, but there's I want to know more, check it out. The name of the shop is notsoavagedreamer.com. Sorry, Not So Average Dreamer is the name of the Etsy shop. And the link, like I said, will be in the description of this video. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one. I love you all. Bye.